Have you ever wondered how complex family relationships and conflicts of faith shape the deepest biblical stories? At the heart of these narratives is the figure of Jacob, a man whose life was marked by struggles, deceptions, but also by an unrelenting pursuit of blessings and a promised destiny. Through Genesis 25, we are introduced to Jacob and Esau, twins with intertwined and conflicting destinies from the womb. This story is not just about the rise of a nation, but also about the personal and spiritual challenges faced by Jacob, a journey of faith, identity, and transformation. In the rich and complex tapestry of biblical stories, Jacob's saga holds a prominent place, beginning in Genesis 25. This narrative not only introduces Jacob to the world, but also lays the groundwork for the events that would follow, marked by intrigue, dispute, and the providential hand of God. The context unfolds with Isaac and Rebekah, desperate for a child, finally receiving the news of her pregnancy. Genesis 25:21 narrates how Isaac pleaded with the Lord on behalf of his wife, culminating in the conception of twins. However, Rebekah's pregnancy is anything but calm. The turmoil in her womb leads Rebekah to seek answers from the Lord, who reveals in Genesis 25:23, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." The birth of the twins reveals the first manifestation of this prophecy. Esau, the firstborn, is robust and hairy, a born hunter, while Jacob, born holding Esau's heel, is quiet and homebound. This scene foreshadows the troubled relationship and rivalry that would define their paths. The sale of the birthright, a crucial episode in Jacob's life, is described in Genesis 25:29-34. In this account, Esau, exhausted and hungry, returns from the field, longing for the stew Jacob was preparing. Jacob, seizing an opportunity, proposes a trade, the stew for Esau's birthright. Esau, despising his birthright, agrees to the deal. This act of exchange, seemingly simple, has profound implications, prefiguring the role Jacob would play in the history of Israel and the lineage of divine promises. This beginning of Genesis 25 is not just the introduction of Jacob, but a prelude to a life filled with struggles and triumphs. The complexity of the characters and the interplay between divine destiny and personal choice are evident, setting the stage for a journey of faith, deception, reconciliation, and ultimately, the formation of a chosen nation. The key verses of this section not only narrate the birth and rise of Jacob, but also sow the issues of character and destiny that would be explored throughout his life. Jacob, a complex and multifaceted figure in the Bible, is often remembered for his acts of deception and cunning. From his birth, Jacob's life is marked by events that foreshadow his role as a man whose actions lead him to navigate between morality and manipulation to achieve his goals. The essence of his deceptive nature is introduced early on, with the symbolism of his hand grasping Esau's heel during birth, as described in Genesis 25:26. This gesture foreshadows Jacob's future actions to supplant his brother. The origin of his name Jacob, meaning "he who holds the heel," or supplanter, reflects this aspect of his personality and destiny. One of the most emblematic episodes of his life is the sale of the birthright, recounted in Genesis 25:29-34. Esau, exhausted and hungry, returns from the field and desires the stew Jacob was preparing. Jacob, seeing an opportunity, offers the stew in exchange for Esau's birthright. Esau, despising the importance of his birthright, agrees to the trade. This crucial moment not only highlights Jacob's cunning, but also Esau's impulsiveness, laying the groundwork for future conflict between the brothers. Jacob's most significant deception occurs when he usurps the blessing meant for Esau from their father Isaac. With the help of his mother Rebekah, Jacob disguises himself as Esau to receive Isaac's blessing, as described in Genesis 27. Wearing Esau's clothes and covering himself with goat skins to mimic his brother's hairy skin, Jacob deceives Isaac, whose vision was impaired by age. Isaac, deceived, bestows upon Jacob the blessing that was meant for Esau, an action that triggers a series of events that would shape Jacob's destiny and the future of the nation of Israel. These acts of deception not only define Jacob's trajectory, but also shed light on the themes of destiny, faith, and the complex interplay between human action and divine will in the biblical narrative. Jacob's life is a testament to how actions driven by cunning and deception can have lasting consequences, but also how divine grace can transform and redeem. Jacob's actions, marked by deceits and cunning, inevitably lead to significant consequences that shape the rest of his life. One such consequence is his flight to escape Esau's wrath, after usurping both the birthright and the blessing meant for his brother. This flight not only symbolizes a turning point in Jacob's life, but also the beginning of a journey of transformations and divine encounters. In Genesis 28:10-22, we find Jacob on the run, leaving Beersheba for Haran. During his journey, he experiences a divine vision in which God reaffirms the promises made to Abraham and Isaac, extending them to Jacob. This encounter with God at Bethel, where Jacob dreams of a ladder reaching to heaven and angels of God ascending and descending on it, is a critical moment that reinforces God's commitment to the Abrahamic lineage, despite Jacob's flaws. Upon arriving in Haran, Jacob encounters Laban, his uncle, as narrated in Genesis 29:1-30. Laban, reflecting Jacob's own deceptive tendencies in a way, ends up deceiving him, swapping his daughter Rachel, whom Jacob had fallen in love with and agreed to work 7 years for, with Leah, the older sister. This event is significant as it illustrates how Jacob's deceptive actions begin to come back around, with him now on the receiving end of deception. Jacob's stay with Laban and his subsequent marriage to Leah and later Rachel not only add complexity to Jacob's character, but are also fundamental to the fulfillment of the divine promises to Abraham of innumerable descendants. Jacob's sons, born from Leah, Rachel, and their maidservants, Zilpah and Bilhah, would become the patriarchs of the 12 tribes of Israel, thus fulfilling the promise of a great nation. These events, detailed in Genesis 29 and 30, serve not only as a testament to the complexities of Jacob's life and family interactions, but also as a reminder of the mysterious ways in which God works in the biblical narrative. Despite flaws and deceptions, Jacob's journey is marked by a constant divine presence that guides, protects, and ultimately transforms, reflecting a central theme of redemption and faith in divine providence. The relationship between Jacob and Laban is one of the most complex and intriguing in the Bible, characterized by hard work, mutual deception, but also moments of divinely inspired cunning. Jacob, fleeing from Esau's wrath, finds refuge with Laban, his uncle, in the land of Haran. This encounter triggers a series of events that not only shape Jacob's future, but also fulfill the divine promises made to Abraham and Isaac. Jacob's arrival in Haran and his subsequent encounter with Rachel, one of Laban's daughters, are narrated in Genesis 29. Moved by love for Rachel, Jacob agrees to work 7 years for Laban as a dowry to marry her. However, Laban deceives Jacob, giving him Leah, his eldest daughter, instead of Rachel. This deceit forces Jacob to work another 7 years for Rachel, highlighting Laban's cunning and prefiguring the future conflicts and deceptions between the two men. After marrying Rachel, Jacob continues to work for Laban, but the relationship between them becomes increasingly tense, mainly due to Jacob's growing prosperity. Genesis 30:25-43 details Jacob's cunning in managing Laban's flock. Jacob employs selective breeding techniques to increase his portion of the flock, taking advantage of the sheep's genetics to produce strong and robust animals that would be his own, as per the agreement made with Laban. This passage not only illustrates Jacob's intelligence and ingenuity, but also suggests divine intervention, as Jacob attributes his success to God's vision, which guides him on how to proceed with the sheep. This moment is crucial as it marks the beginning of Jacob's economic independence and the formation of his own large family and flock, which would be the foundation of the future tribes of Israel. Jacob's complex relationship with Laban, filled with labor, deceptions, and eventual separation, as narrated in Genesis 31, reflects broader themes of divine providence and the human capacity to navigate adverse situations with faith and cunning. Jacob's journey from Haran back to the land of his ancestors, enriched and with a large family, not only fulfills divine promises of prosperity and offspring, but also signifies Jacob's transformation from a supplanter to a leader and patriarch of a chosen nation. Jacob's return to his homeland is not just a physical return, but also a significant milestone in his spiritual and personal journey. After years of working for Laban in Haran, accumulating wealth and forming a large family, Jacob faces the divinely ordained challenge of going back home, an act that requires confronting his past and, more specifically, the potential wrath of his brother Esau. This return is driven by a clear instruction from God, as narrated in Genesis 31:3, where the Lord tells Jacob, "Return to the land of your fathers and to your family, and I will be with you." This divine promise is a reaffirmation of God's constant support for Jacob, despite the challenges he may face. God's command to return acts as a call for Jacob to confront the consequences of his past actions and seek reconciliation. Jacob's journey back is marked by a series of significant events that reflect his spiritual growth and his ongoing struggle with God and man. One such moment is Jacob's nocturnal struggle with a divine being in Genesis 32:24-30. This encounter results in Jacob receiving a new name, Israel, symbolizing his transformation from someone who supplants to someone who struggles with God and men and prevails. This event not only prepares Jacob for the reunion with Esau, but also symbolizes Jacob's inner struggle with his own nature and the process of becoming worthy of the divine promises to him and his ancestors. Jacob's approach to Esau is carefully planned, as demonstrated in Genesis 32:3-21. Jacob sends messengers ahead to inform Esau of his return, preparing the ground for an encounter he fears might be hostile. He arranges a generous gift for Esau, hoping to appease any remaining resentment. This act of humility and reparations reflects Jacob's desire to mend the fractured relationship with his brother. The actual encounter with Esau, described in Genesis 33:1-4, reveals a surprisingly peaceful resolution. Contrary to Jacob's expectations, Esau greets him with embraces and kisses, indicating forgiveness that transcends past grievances. This reconciliation is not just a relief for Jacob, but also a testament to the power of transformation, forgiveness, and divine providence. Jacob's return, therefore, is not just a journey back to his ancestral land, but a path of self-discovery, reconciliation, and fulfillment of divine promises. This episode highlights Jacob's journey from a man marked by deception and flight to a patriarch whose life is transformed by faith and direct struggle with God. Jacob's internal struggles and fears, particularly regarding his impending reunion with Esau, are critical moments that reveal both his humanity and his dependence on divine providence. After years of separation, Jacob's anxiety about facing his brother, from whom he had usurped both the birthright and the paternal blessing, is palpable and meticulously detailed in Genesis 32. As Jacob approaches his homeland, fears about Esau's reaction dominate his thoughts. In Genesis 32:7-8, Jacob is consumed with anxiety upon hearing that Esau is coming to meet him with 400 men, which he interprets as a sign of imminent vengeance. His response to this perceived threat is both practical and spiritual. He divides his camp into two, thinking that if Esau attacked one group, the other could escape, a strategy that reveals his cunning but also his profound fear and despair. Amid these preparations, Jacob seeks God in prayer, an act that highlights his growing dependence and faith. In Genesis 32:9-12, Jacob reminds God of the promises made to him and his ancestors, pleading for protection and deliverance from Esau's wrath. This prayer is a moment of vulnerability and confession for Jacob, acknowledging his fear and his need for divine grace. Jacob's distress is also symbolized by the gifts he prepares for Esau, described in Genesis 32:13-21. Jacob generously selects from his flock, sending them ahead as a bribe to appease his brother's anger. These gifts, sent in successive waves, aim to soften Esau's heart before the encounter, reflecting Jacob's hope of mending the fractured relationship through humility and restitution. Furthermore, Jacob's struggle with the angel, or man, in Genesis 32:24-30 on the eve of his meeting with Esau, symbolizes Jacob's internal battle with his own insecurities, past mistakes, and his desire for blessings and divine acknowledgement. This transformative experience, resulting in Jacob receiving the name Israel, is both a physical struggle and a spiritual epiphany, marking the transition of Jacob from a man defined by his flaws to a patriarch whose life reflects perseverance and the struggle for faith. These events, culminating in a peaceful encounter with Esau, demonstrate the complexity of Jacob as a biblical character, a man driven by fear and cunning, but also deeply transformed by faith and divine grace. Through these struggles and fears, Jacob emerges not only as a survivor of human conflicts, but as an example of how vulnerability before God can lead to blessing and transformation. Jacob's struggle with a divine figure at the Jabbok River is one of the most emblematic and symbolic moments in the Bible, representing a profound transformation of character and the granting of a new identity to Jacob. This event, detailed in Genesis 32, 24, 32, not only marks a turning point in Jacob's life, but also illustrates the complexity of the human relationship with the divine. On the eve of his meeting with Esau, Jacob finds himself alone after sending his family and possessions across the Jabbok River. In this setting of isolation and introspection, he is confronted by a man with whom he wrestles until dawn. The exact nature of this divine figure is a mystery. It may be interpreted as an angel, God in human form, or a physical manifestation of Jacob's internal struggle with his own nature and destiny. The key verse of this episode is Genesis 32, 28, where, after a night-long struggle, the figure says to Jacob, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with men, and have overcome." The name Israel means he who struggles with God, symbolizing not just Jacob's resilience, but also his ability to persist and prevail. The name change reflects a fundamental shift in Jacob's identity and character, from someone known for his cunning and deception to someone who can directly face the divine and emerge blessed. This struggle also results in Jacob receiving a divine blessing, a crucial element that reaffirms Jacob's special position in the promises made to Abraham and Isaac. However, the blessing comes with a price. Jacob leaves the struggle limping because of his dislocated hip, Genesis 32:31, a permanent physical reminder of his divine encounter and the transformation it represents. Beyond its personal significance for Jacob, this episode has broader implications for the nation of Israel. Jacob, now Israel, becomes the patriarch not just of a family, but of a people chosen by God, whose identity and history are shaped by their relationship with the divine, characterized by struggle, resilience, and blessing. The struggle at the Jabbok River, therefore, is more than a literal event. It is a rich metaphor for the spiritual journey of facing and overcoming both divine and human challenges. It reflects the idea that true transformation and blessing come through direct and persistent engagement with the divine, even when it means facing pain and difficulty. Jacob's struggle with God at the Jabbok River, one of the most profound and multifaceted episodes in the Bible, offers rich teachings on perseverance, the formation of identity in Christ, and the pursuit of a deeper intimacy with God. This event, described in Genesis 32, 24, 32, is not just a narrative about a physical struggle, but a powerful allegory of the spiritual journey and the transformation that can occur in a life of faith. Jacob's determination to not let go of his opponent until he received a blessing, Genesis 32, 26, is a powerful lesson on the importance of perseverance in faith. Jacob, despite facing a divine and unknown adversary, chooses to hold on firmly, a symbol of his persistence and desire to live under God's blessing. This act of perseverance is a testimony for believers of all times about the importance of remaining faithful, even when confronted with insurmountable challenges, trusting that the struggle will bring divine transformation and blessing. The change of Jacob's name to Israel, Genesis 32, 28, symbolizes a transformation of identity, from someone known for deceiving to someone who struggles with God and men and still prevails. This transformation is emblematic of the new identity believers receive in Christ, an identity that reflects a renewed relationship with God and a new life purpose. Just as Jacob emerged from the struggle with a new identity, believers are called to see themselves as new creations in Christ, 2 Corinthians 5:17, marked not by their pasts, but by their restored relationship with God through Jesus Christ. Jacob's reunion with Esau is one of the most anticipated and emotionally charged moments in the biblical narrative, full of tension but also profound spiritual lessons on forgiveness, reconciliation, and the transformation of faith. This encounter, described in Genesis 33, 1-11, occurs after years of separation and conflict, and after Jacob has undergone a deep personal and spiritual transformation, including his struggle at the Jabbok River, where he receives a new name and identity as Israel. Before the reunion, Jacob meticulously prepares, demonstrating both fear and respect for his brother. He organizes his family and servants into groups, chooses meaningful gifts for Esau, and prays for divine protection and favor. Genesis 32:13-21. This preparation reflects Jacob's perseverance in the face of fear and uncertainty, trusting that God would guide and protect him and his family through this critical moment. The change in Jacob's posture and attitude, from planning his encounter to the actual interaction with Esau, reflects a significant transformation of character. This transformation can be paralleled to the change in identity that believers experience in Christ, a move from fear and conflict to the peace and reconciliation that comes from God. Jacob's new identity as Israel is not just a name, but a manifestation of his transformed character, capable of facing the past with humility and seeking reconciliation. Jacob's journey, filled with challenges, struggles, and divine encounters, offers profound reflections on faith, personal transformation, and the relationship with God. Through the stories of his life, we see the importance of perseverance, as in his tireless quest for blessings, Genesis 32:26, transformation in identity, symbolized by the change of his name to Israel, Genesis 32:28, and intimacy with God, evidenced in his struggle at the Jabbok River, and fervent prayer for protection, Genesis 32:9-12. These elements are not only central to Jacob's narrative, but also echo the principles of the Christian life, where perseverance in faith, renewal of identity in Christ, 2 Corinthians 5:17, and the pursuit of an intimate relationship with God, James 4:8, are fundamental. Jacob teaches us that even amidst flaws and struggles, divine grace is accessible, transforming lives and guiding us to fulfill our divine purpose. Jacob's life is a testament to God's faithfulness and the transformative power of His presence in our lives. Liked the video? Leave your like and share this message with someone special to you.